Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel Multiverse Mondays. I'm Nick, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle. I almost forget.
Ow.
Forget who it was.
Dare you son of a bitch.
Hey, I had whiskey last night. Scotch, to be exact. I don't drink hard alcohol very often. I just needed some.
Scotch.
What kind? What was it called?
It was like, I don't know, it was like monkey on your shoulder or something close to that, and there are like 3 monkeys on the bottle.
What?
Well, so it's not from Scotland then.
No, I'm sure it's not.
No.
That's the higher up on the shelf that I can't afford.
Ah.
I've had a couple of 16, 18-year-olds, and I've had once in my life I've had something in the 20s, and once something higher than that. I can't remember what it was, but like I've tried a lot of scotches, and I just can't.
Usually you're looking at sort of 18, 22, 30 years. Do you know what I mean? Depending on the type of whiskey it is and the cask it's kept in and everything like that. So the more expensive whiskies tend to be, some of the most expensive whiskies in the world. This is so Marvel. It's great. This.
They go together.
Marvel whiskey. But yeah, some of the most expensive whiskies aren't like malts. So they're blends. So what they do is they blend whiskey from some of the fanciest malts together to make a unique flavour, and then that has to sit for so many years as well. Do you know what I mean? Those are the really expensive ones. Like, is it Johnny Walker Blue Label? That's like 300 quid a bottle or something like that, and there's ones even more expensive than that.
And I'll be completely honest with you guys. I will take a straight shot of Lucky Number 7 Jack Daniels over all of the expensive.
They taste completely different. Jack Daniels,
exactly. But even
anything I like
when you started mentioning blended, it makes me think of blended whiskeys in America, which is your Jack Daniels, your Jim Beams, your Wild Turkey and shit like that. And I'm saying is that Americanized version of whiskey, our
bourbon
version. I'll take
bourbon.
Yes, I'll take the Tennessee whiskey, because Jack Daniels is different than Kentucky bourbon and other bourbons. But I'll take Jack Daniels over it all.
I agree with you. I'm not a fan of whiskey, despite coming from Scotland. It's not built into our DNA in any way. Although my father may disagree. But I would probably prefer an American, just because there's a different kind of flavour to it, So like Jack Daniels and Coke's completely different from having whiskey and Coke, It's anyway. Talking about blended, you've managed to blend me into this week's episode as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's Cam, everybody.
Hi.
So hold on, wait.
You may remember me from such podcasts as LRMornings and the Cantina.
Hi, I'm Cam McClure.
I'm Cam McClure.
You might remember. Oh, God rest my Hartman, man. Jeez, I always loved the Troy McClure shit in the Simpsons.
When Hartman died, The Simpsons was never the same for me.
Yeah.
To be honest. But there you go.
Yeah. But this, it's like a mashup Cantina Marvel Multiverse thing. It's
kind of, because we're
weird.
not going to be talking Star Wars at
all.
all.
We're not talking Star Wars. Just the casts of the podcasts are here.
Just in case anyone gets frightened and thinks I've clicked onto the wrong thing.
You know what? I might totally do what I've just done, which is usurp Nick's show, because I hear Cam, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's my show, not Nick's show. Go ahead, Nick. Take it back over.
Well, today we're going to be talking about episode 4. Wasn't it called like Pardon Our Interruption, or just We Interrupt the Show? I think it's We Interrupt the Show.
We interrupt this show, which was, we interrupt this show to bring you a broadcast, in the old days, in the olden times.
Mm-hmm. And of course, this is referring to the fact that, as I predicted, Kyle, that when we see the outside world, we would start at the beginning before anyone went in. Of
so
course.
you already predicted it would go backwards in time, kind of thing.
Yeah, I predicted it would flash back to the beginning of them sending stuff through.
Did you know that this episode coming up was going to be that episode, or was that just that it's going to happen at some point kind of thing?
I thought it was going to happen after we saw the 90s and like Modern Family episode.
I thought it would go further up first. Yeah.
I was the one
Till I saw the promos for this week.
I had been the one that had said we had to spend at least 10 minutes outside in this episode. I was like, at a minimum, last week. Last week I said that we needed to spend this week's episode at least 10 minutes needed to be outside. That it was time to start seeing some of the other side of the mystery,
the other points of view.
Because there's a lot of shows that sometimes get, and even movies do this, where they get focused on wanting to show one aspect so much so that way you're very certain of what's going here that they completely ignore and underestimate the importance and the ability to enhance the story of this aspect over on this side. So I was not only did I think it was necessary, I actually expected it because I thought it was a smart story position for it.
And I agreed with Kyle that I thought we'd spend more of this, like at least some of this episode outside, since they've been increasing the length of like the scary real life moments.
I think for me, once the promo kind of came out and it showed us a little bit of, at that point I thought this is a flashback episode. I just didn't think, that was my prediction, we're not going to see much WandaVision this episode. It's going to all be told from the kind of other point of view. But to be fair, I never predicted that until the actual promo came out, and probably a billion other people in the world predicted the same thing, so it's not exactly something to write home about. But, until that point I didn't know, but,
Any of our speculation, I'm sure, is nothing to write home. We know what we're talking about.
You never know.
A lot of other people are coming up with the same shit independently. So,
and a lot of other,
we're all good at it.
Other different shit as well, because there is a hell of a lot of theories out there online, and they definitely do not all align at this moment in time. So Marvel must be doing something right.
I'm sure one of the things we'll be discussing a lot this episode is that obviously most of our theories were undone. More theories added this time for the first time. When I was watching it with my friend,
even from last week, from last.
When I was watching the show, when I was watching it with my friend who actually listens to the podcast. Hey, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
He started listening to our podcasts. He's my friend for life. But when I was watching it with him, he was like, "There aren't any questions left," and I'm like, "No, there's still a lot of shit going on." But you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
there's plenty of questions.
There's still it stripped away so many other theories we had. Like I think whatever Tom Holland's gonna announcement he's gonna give in a week or whatever is gonna do too, or this week rather. He's like I'm gonna give a Spider-Man 3 announcement. It's probably something simple like those guys aren't in it.
Well, some of them are going to be in it, but I don't think they're all going to be in it.
I love that this really did more of answering of what's not going on versus what is going on. Through a ultra meta within type way of where these guys are watching those first episodes the same ways we did, asking questions the same way we did, trying to deduce things based off of what we know in the MCU, but we had the curse of comic book knowledge, which
Johnny Woo doesn't have.
Exactly.
Jimmy
so
he still writes the same questions.
It's so.
It even says scrolls ? On the board.
Yes. so meta within fourth
By the
walls.
hexagons.
It's awesome, man. I loved it. It's beautifully done, perfectly timed, and a perfect example of why this show and potentially any shows going forward, looking at Marvel and Disney, that you don't necessarily always need to do one a week. There's potentially great times where you should dump 3 this week, 2 this week, 1 this week, then 2 the next week. It all depends on what's best for the story, because I really think those first 3 episodes should have been all
I agree.
together.
I listened to the podcast last week, Kyle, and when you brought that up, I was in firm agreement. So it just made sense for me for those 3 to just fit together so well. For then this week to be the big change up and for it to be the one on its own, because you can just see how that hooked people in. Like, you can see the Rotten Tomato scores. Like episode 1 and episode 2, it's like 100, right? And then episode 3, it drops back down. Episode 4, it's a way back up again.
Were they?
Well, I think they were at one point, but at the point after the first 2 episodes had aired, it was the highest rated Marvel content on Rotten Tomatoes at that point. Now, that's early days and things change over time, but it tanked on episode 3 and then shot back up again on episode 4.
Last time I checked, it was 100% still, but I haven't checked today.
And that just tells me, I think the data tells Disney, and you were right, basically, Kyle. I think that's what they should have done. I've also heard, talking about this, that there's a possibility that they might drop the next 2 episodes next week, although we can maybe discuss the reasons for that at the end.
Is that a thing now, possibly?
Possibly, that's that's a rumor.
That would actually be smart.
About it.
We'll get into it.
But we will get to that.
This hits on Monday, so yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I guess we don't even need to do the opening part. We all liked it, right?
I loved it.
Absolutely
loved it.
Yeah. By far my favorite.
How can you glance over that? Two things on that opening. We got to remember the Russos.
No. I think you're picking Nick up wrong. What he means is that where we all go around and say what we thought of it and stuff like that. It's the opening
I think we covered that part, right?
Okay.
The
WandaVision episode.
Let me make sure. It's awesome to get a set time period. How much time after Endgame? So we have this right before. This is basically as Peter's school year is restarting before his summer vacation.
Yeah. Well, let's start. I'm gonna say spoilers now.
Oh.
We're into this. Yeah, spoilers. I mean, there's not really much of one yet. I'm just going to say it now, so now we can say whatever we want.
Okay. I was just going to say I liked how it did that, and the I already said to reevaluate how they release the shit. So yeah, now I'm ready to go in.
So with that, okay. So I think we'll do it differently. We've been doing it. Let's talk about Easter eggs and predictions. I guess we can do predictions at the end and as we're going, and Easter eggs as we're going, rather than separating it. If that sounds good to you guys. So obviously we open with the Blip being undone, and the most special effects we've seen spent all season, or even more than anything we've seen spent about the Blip in any other movie, I feel, is the opening scene. Like the detail of her being reformed, Monica Rambeau, was more detailed than anything we even saw in Infinity War.
I have heard also in the grapevine on this one that that might be something similar may come up in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well.
It might start
to do with the Blip. Yeah, that's so the rumor seems to be. Like, I can't remember who said it now because I don't have it on me. But someone said this week, if you like that, you may like some stuff out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that may go in a similar direction. So, people have started speculating. Wait a minute, what if like Zemo got blipped and went back? And there's all these kind of things coming in. of course, you know, we never considered all the different things that could have happened as a result of this blip. You know, so when we found out Monica Rambeau was going to be in WandaVision, which we knew before the show, we knew who she was last week. You know, it's not as if it was some big secret. You know, did anybody actually think she was going to have been blipped for 5 years? You just kind of automatically assume in your head that she wasn't. I do anyway. Do you know what I mean? And I just apply the same to every character. But 50% of all the people, you know, in the universe at that point got blipped away and then come back. So there's a hell of a lot of people that could have been missing for the last 5 years that, you know, could make us think differently about things going forward. But
Wu was obviously not blipped. He had all that time to learn magic.
Yeah.
It's such a great contrast to what the Russo brothers tried to say about everyone coming back. You know, Hulk willed it so anybody that was on a plane would have been safely on the ground. Anybody that was like in a building that was no longer there, Hulk made sure to will them, you know, safely. And it's like,
not in the middle of the street.
Right. Even if he wills them safely, you know, so to speak, it would still be incredibly chaotic. I love that it's a funny joke bit in Far From Home. Because it fits
deadly serious.
Yeah, because it told that movie. Yeah,
it fits that movie. But here it shows what it would be like for real, not like at a half empty high school teenagers who already are like the last 5 years fuck life. You know, it happens there. But what happens when people start returning in a hospital? People start returning in homes that have been sold.
Yeah. 50% of the population of the world coming back.
Exactly.
It's also just the impact of what it means to Monica directly, because you know of what she was doing at that time and what she's lost by coming back. You know, and she's missed in the last 5 years, which was very mature. You know, and I think that's the key to kind of provide maybe more content that can be a little bit more adult orientated on Disney Plus. It doesn't have to be R-rated. It just has to be maybe tonally more mature. I think this was a good example of where you can go tonally more mature on Disney Plus while still keeping it completely PG-13. You know?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if the show, like, we've been paying a lot of they pay a lot of direct attention to who's directing Star. I mean, like, Mandalorian, and, like, we know the week of and shit normally, or at the end we'll be like, oh, yeah, of course that was Robert Rodriguez, because it was, like, high noon, you know. But here it's like, I wonder who directed this one, if there are different directors, because this is, like,
no, it's the same director for them all.
Oh, really?
On WandaVision, I believe.
Because this feels like the horror movie episode of The Mandalorian from last season. Like, this is the horror episode of, there's several, like, jump scares and scary moments.
And I think Cam's right. I think they got a showrunner
Matt Shackman directed every episode.
Oh, damn. I actually kind of prefer that, especially when it's a short-form TV series.
You
don't see that. All Stranger Things.
They got a showrunner and a director.
Schaefer, obviously, a head writer and showrunner, and Shackman was the director of every episode.
I love that. That's awesome.
Do you know what he's known for directing?
No.
Viewers. Nick, you know, I say this like I just know this, but clearly I've just Googled this and it's right in front of me. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He directed.
Oh my god!
And one of mine, Game of Thrones, as well. So I knew that one anyway because he had talked a little bit about, you know, that experience of doing something as big as Game of Thrones was obviously handy coming into something like WandaVision.
Yeah, it'd be hard to jump from Sunny to this, even though the Russos basically jumped from Arrested Development to Avengers movies and Community to Avengers movies. But yeah, so even if you're in the grocery store, it's funny. I watched a years old spoof of what happens when people come back from the blip, like on College Humor from like the Year of Infinity War.
Yeah.
And you know, it had all the jokes, like someone gets hit by a car. A guy's like, honey, I'm home, and her like new husband shoots him to death thinking he's an intruder and stuff. And then this episode happens. I'm like, oh shit, we're dealing with this again. And Kyle, I feel like it. So the timeline of this whole episode is 3.5 weeks, I think. 3 weeks. Then she shows up back at work. then 5 days or something, then she gets sucked in, and 5 days later or something, Darcy and shows up. So wouldn't that put this before Far From Home?
Yes, this is. I said, this is right at like September-ish, like kicking off in September-ish of 2023 is when Hulk snaps. While Far From Home is, according to the MCU, not necessarily Sony, because we all know Sony doesn't always communicate when they pick what fucking dates they're gonna throw up on screen. But Far From Home is summer of 2024, which makes the Skrulls thing later on additionally more interesting, and I'll get to that later, I guess.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so what I find it most interesting about that is that like we're like, oh, it's gonna lead directly into Spider-Man 3, but it's like if she didn't break the multiverse as we theorized in this show, if she does it in this show, then it should be affecting Far From Home also. You know what I mean?
No, depending on what the timeline might not stay static from now till the end of the season for the start. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, you've got the fact that the next Spider-Man movie could literally start.
That's true.
And some people have theorized that the reason Jameson turns up at the end of Far From Home is multiverse bleed happening already. Because now that's just a crazy theory, but who knows? Do you know what I mean? Literally, it's already happened by that point in the film, and the next Spider-Man movie may just kick off from there straight into whatever's happening.
Here's the funny part. Excuse me. The Jameson from Far From Home, believe it or not, I know it's J.K. Simmons. But it's also the Spider-Man PS4 version of JJ, not the
internet version,
not the Raimi version. It is the PS4 internet conspiracy theory, Alex Jones' version, straight from the PS4 video game. But I mean, Simmons has done JJ's voice for multiple versions of the character since the movies, in games, animation, and film. So the multiverse idea, absolutely possible. I think they would go with him being the Maguire version, having transitioned and with time to the Alex Jones version of the PS4 game. Is what they'll explain it, but I did find it funny they used. I
mean, maybe not. Maybe they'll turn around and just say this is this universe. He was always that.
It could be that way too.
Jameson, this is really just a pure fan theory at the moment. There's no kind of basis behind this, but it's a good theory. And it's certainly, I think, I brought it up because to answer your question, I don't think it tells us anything at this moment in time. I don't think we can at the moment say, this must come before that or anything, because we just don't understand where the timeline of the show will go. It's been very much established what our timeline is at the moment, but where we go next, who knows,
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I was just using it as an example to say, like, maybe we're all wrong because of this. But yeah, we don't know all the specifics between
but that could be
here
right
and
as
there.
well.
Then again,
as well.
Yeah. I mean, Doctor Strange is in that movie for a reason, so obviously something's going on.
And, we know for a fact that Alfred Molina is in that movie, and Jamie Foxx is in that movie as Electro. Those ones you can take to the bank. The rest is rumour, but those ones 100% are in it. So something's going on multiverse-wise. Molina was basically confirmed this week by Zendaya. Who on a show where she said, he's so lovely, him to work with, and all that sort of stuff, and she's never worked with him other than this movie. And we knew, Jamie Foxx basically said it himself before kind of staying quiet about it. So they those ones you can take to the bank, but who knows where the rest of the rumours go on that front. Don't know.
So from here, from the hospital scene, which is obviously shocking to everyone. Oh, of course, we learn. So, excuse me. Of course, the show, but especially this episode, because the opening is obviously about loss and tragedy and trauma. With the tragedy of the Rambos, where which I still in my head spell Rambo.
I know. Every time I hear it, I just think Captain Rambo.
Yeah.
We had Captain America.
First
who was
blood.
like Captain Rambo. He's the next level up from Captain America. The R-rated Captain America.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch that.
Basically gonna be Peacemaker, I think. The closest we get to an R-rated Captain America.
That's probably true, actually. Yeah.
But what was it? Oh yeah. So there's a tragedy there is that she thought her mom just got back from surgery or something like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, her mom died waiting for her to blip back because her mom always believed there was a chance. Because her mom found its sword, not Nick Fury, probably with Nick Fury, but she found its sword just like Peggy Carter, another captain's friend, because of course her mom is friends with Captain Marvel, founded S.H.I.E.L.D. So now we, Sword and S.H.I.E.L.D. We learn that Sword was doing mostly space stuff until the blip. When he lost half of his astronauts, and then half of them have come back in space. Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, because that's what made me think, could there be something Fantastic Four in that? What would happen to people that get blipped that were in space when they got blipped?
I don't know, especially like with the mention of I know it's what static is made of, but the mention of the energy that's from the beginning,
cosmic radiation.
Yeah, and the Big
There's
Bang.
a huge amount of CMBR.
Yeah, which is a fun joke when she explains it the first time. The second time, the Sword director's like, I know what it means. But
I'm the goddamn director of Sword. I know what CMBR is.
Well, acting director, as he says.
Well,
because I was actually shocked that when he said that, I'm like, before we knew it was what is Monica's mom's name again? Maria Rambo, Captain Marvel's friend. And of course, obviously Monica's friends with Captain Marvel too. She had that scene where she gets to design the colors of her suit. But
which is the color of the drone. Oh.
Yep, which is the color of the drone. Very good. That she sends in later, which of course is the helicopter. Later, I'll get to the second. So we're at Sword. They mention some interesting things that they are focusing on, like nanotechnology, which the only person we've really seen use it is Stark in Infinity War. And we know Armor Wars is coming, so it could very much be a fight about nanotechnology, if whether Sword lets it get out or, Justin Hammer, whoever gets his hands on it. That could be Armor Wars with Don Cheadle and Riri.
Well, guys, let's not forget the original nanotech happened in Iron Man 3. And that was Extremis.
The Extremis, yeah.
That was more of a biological nanotech, though, wasn't it? Is that why people were exploding?
Internal. It was internal rather than what Tony repurposed that into. I'm assuming it was the external.
I'm just saying, like, nanotech's been around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it got introduced. But since then, it's been present in the MCU. But only with Stark.
And then they must be building something in there, because we don't see a lot of what's in the hangar, but she's like talking about stuff where she's like, I thought we were observing stuff. Yeah. Well, like they were maybe even building a sentient weapon like Ultron. That's what I was thinking. Based on the dialogue they were having, not the
sentient weapon. I thought was superheroes, basically weapons that are people. Do you know what I mean? I always thought so. They're there guarding against sentient weapons, but they're thinking extraterrestrial. But now they're obviously sent to look at one terrestrially. Given that there is a sentient threat out there.
And then they have the line about where he's like, all the threats up there. She's like, we have allies up there too. Some Asgardians, Captain Marvel. Another thing someone pointed out online that I thought was interesting. Well, they just showed the clip of Captain Marvel beating the shit out of Thanos. And you're like, oh, she's even more pissed off because he blipped away one of her best friends. And then her best friend died while her daughter was blipped. And you're like, oh, I mean, obviously it was always there that she looked angry fighting Thanos, but you watch that GIF and you're like, dear God, she is unloading on Thanos like with anger, not just Like, I'm gonna save the
I
world.
mean, yeah, she come back, and we only see things from really the other Avengers' point of view when it comes to her at the start of Endgame. But she's obviously been looking into what happened.
You guys know why, right? Because the direction given to her was come in with anger because he snapped Fury away. They didn't. You're projecting. I don't think this stuff was written, but this stuff fits in.
That's fine as long as
I'm
always I'm fine with stuff like that if they make it retroactively fit and it does it without you thinking about it. Yes. And you can go back and go, oh, that makes sense with that now. That's fine.
But originally it was for Fury, and she makes a point of it when at the start of the movie when Natasha's describing that Thanos succeeded. And they're showing images of all the people missing. Tony sees Peter and feels bad, and then they show Fury, and they look at her at Danvers, and she's like, she's upset by it. So yes, she was very happy to get her hands on Thanos again for Fury's sake.
And then we know, we can get to Fury at the end. We know he's obviously involved with Sword. But yeah, like I said, I was surprised he wasn't at first when they said acting director, I was like, oh, what happened to Fury? They're like, no, it's acting director for.
I suppose it makes sense though, because he then went down after that point in Captain Marvel. He went on to become director of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it makes sense that Maria went in a different direction. And since her skill was, space flight, she was literally testing spaceships, do you know what I mean, for the military at the point that Captain Marvel happens back in the 90s. So, we already know that humanity has basically spacefaring ships that they can use, but we've not seen any of that in the Marvel universe because it wasn't planned at that point, but now it just looks as if it was all hidden away. So if they had Sword and Shield, he was Sword, Maria was Shield, both of them come from basically the same event that happened, which was humanity's first real discovery that there was aliens out there and superpowers and stuff like that, which wasn't Iron Man 1, it was Captain Marvel. Obviously that's the whole point of retrospectively changing that, isn't it?
It's like there was a bigger universe out there. Yeah,
there is a good question as to when does Nick Fury head off into space? Is it after he comes back? Has he been a Skrull since the 90s? Whatever happens with it, I'll tell you what Nick Fury is right now. More than likely, something like the Spire or something like that, or the Spear, or there's a space station for Sword in Earth orbit, and I think that's what he was on. And of course, it's mostly Skrulls because that's the most friendly alien species that they have right now, or at that point,
and they're
right?
pretty handy allies as to have as well,
and potential enemies. But he's either there or he's on a Skrull cruiser cruising the galaxy. Regardless, even after the downfall of S.H.I.E.L.D., even looking at Sword, I think what the role Fury's playing is a role known as the man on the wall in the Marvel universe. A little too much to go into, very cosmic related, kind of Sword related. And I think Fury's been the man on the wall before, but take a look at it, and I think that's why even in Far From Home, that it's not like he's in charge of Sword, that he's obviously got a very specific task with a specific craft or ship and crew. And I think he's the man on the wall, which would mean, he's probably working hand in hand with Sword, which would play in a Secret Invasion and shit. But he was never going to run Sword exactly like Cam said, because that was Maria's show.
He's away doing whatever's going to set up Secret Invasion. That's the way I see it. Yeah, like he's going to come back at that point. Like, obviously I won't say this, but motherfuckers,
We'll come
Shit's
close
gone
to saying
down.
it again, maybe.
I am sick
give him
of these motherfucking scrolls wearing the faces of my motherfucking friends.
Wait, let's not get into it because I don't want to get too far off topic from the show, but I still have the theory that Maria Hill doesn't exist, except as a scroll. Like, I don't think there's a human named Maria Hill.
But like right back from. All right, okay. Right, okay. So you're talking about that. That'll be all the way in Avengers, right? Okay.
Because he meant scrolls in the 90s.
The Skrull, I don't know. I wouldn't like them to go back too far and say it's like been Talos since Iron Man 1, because then we don't know who Nick Fury is as a character. But clearly it was sometime before Far From Home, and after the blip is how I would guess it. Because if it was Talos, it was blipped away. You would have expected him to kind of go back to his more natural form. And voice and everything like that at that point. So
I wouldn't be surprised if it's after Winter Soldier, which would make, because I was even watching Age of Ultron the other week again, being like, is this Nick Fury?
Until they give us it definitively, it's just going to be one of those curious things we think about.
Yeah,
it's probably not nothing to it.
So Monica is informed she is going to be doing missions terrestrially. She's going to be staying on Earth for a while, as her mom set up. In case they came back, adding to the tragedy of like her mom hoped she'd come back, but they both missed each other. It's sad. So she's going to go assist an FBI agent, missing persons case. So she goes out and meets our friend Jimmy Woo, who had one of the best. Marvel is so good at connecting shit. It's ridiculous. It's like every Marvel writer from every movie looks over the draft before it's done. So like Jimmy Woo pulls out his card like it's a card trick, and you're like, oh, I love Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It makes so much sense in 5 years since they all disappeared that he would sit and practice that. Yeah,
it's hilarious. They like the details like that. So So he has what he refers to as a he. So a male in the witness protection program is somewhere in town. Would you
think that that is potentially then an Avenger, someone who didn't sign the Accords, who was still wanted as part of everything that happened in Civil War? Possibly.
Ooh, possibly. I didn't really
know.
This
is something I've heard online, and people have theorized that what could happen is another Avenger could show up at the end of this, but like their memory wiped, they don't know they'll just show up as a character in the sitcom, and it's whoever was in that witness protection program. And there's two theories that have been put out there to who it might be. One is Ant-Man himself, Paul Rudd, that will show up. But that doesn't make any sense to anyone. He was no longer in house arrest before the blip, so he was allowed to go out, so there's no reason for Jimmy to be chasing him. But what about Hawkeye?
Yeah, doesn't Hawkeye still have like his...
And think about the Hawkeye connection to Wanda. If Hawkeye thought there was something wrong with Wanda, he would go to help Wanda because they've got that connection. What if he went to find Wanda and ended up in Westview and became part of...
that's awesome.
And Hawkeye did commit a lot of murder as Ronin.
Yeah.
He would still very much be wanted and, by the FBI.
And it's like, okay, you saved the universe fighting Thanos. We're going to get you and your family out of here. You want out of the game. And maybe that's why he... passes it on to Bishop
But
what
Clint
if Hawkeye
finds out something's wrong with Wanda and goes to find her, and when he gets there, because we know that Wanda takes Vision's body out from where it was in presumably Wakanda and takes it away because they filmed that scene for Endgame and then cut it.
Right.
So although it's not canon, if they cut it, they might have just decided they didn't want to do that. That's what everybody thinks is the current situation. She's went and got Vision's body. So what if Clint's got a hold of that and went looking for her?
Oh yeah,
just a possibility.
He would be the one looking out.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Hawkeye show up.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
And he doesn't know what's going on. He's just a character in the show, and we're all like, it's Hawkeye.
Yeah, I want them to be trick or treating next episode and knock on the door, and Clint opens it, mindless and playing a different person. As they say, cast as a different person.
Yeah.
I think that's what wakes up Vision a little bit, because remember he's gonna go crazy in the Halloween episode.
But yeah, like I said, it does fit with him being in the witness protection.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
But Wu Wu says, I have a person set up there. Like, he's aware of Westview. Like, all these other people are aware of Westview. No, I don't think that holds up. If
Why?
Clint going there to help Wanda, because Wu specifically says...
All it takes is for Clint to have phoned Wu to say, I need to go to Westview, and Jimmy's like, no, you know, as part of your agreement, you're supposed to be doing this. Don't do it. It's Wanda. I need to go and, help her, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he doesn't even tell her that. Jimmy's like, right, I need to go and make sure Clint's all right. He jumps in the plane looking for this Westview. He gets there. He sees the weird effect. He calls the cops. They're like, there's nowhere called Westview exists.
I've got someone set up in Westview.
But why would he have, until he knew there was something wrong in Westview, what would he have the reason to set somebody up in Westview? He said he was looking for someone, and he came out to look for them.
Because everyone, Wu said when he meets Monica, he says everyone except him, everyone doesn't remember the guy that is missing. First, he says that. Two.
Yeah, in the local area, I thought.
Hold on.
By that,
I know. Two, he says, specifically, I've got him set up in Westview. So that means he purposely set a person up in Westview. Monica asks, did you have, call everyone? He's like, yes. Called everyone, and no one knows him. No one remembers him. Yada, yada, yada.
100% sure on what that dialogue is.
Yes, 100% certain.
But, I mean, either way, I think she was aimed at that town by whoever's helping her to. I think maybe whoever's trying to get her to control stuff is trying to get at that guy, obviously. Otherwise, why bring up whoever it could be? Like, whoever influenced Wanda to do all this sent her to Westview because there's someone important in Westview.
I'm just saying that the Clint Hawkeye going to rescue Wanda doesn't hold water. Him being under witness protection and under Wu's jurisdiction, that I buy, but him running off and being the Westview person, I don't think holds water because of the dialogue. That's all.
If Wanda was driven to Westview because of her connection to Hawkeye, like subconsciously or like through magic in some way? It's there's a friendly here.
The other way, because I think the reason Wanda went where she's going is because she went with Vision's dead body and she found out there might be somebody there that could help her, and she went for help to try and piece him back together, get him back in some way, resurrect him, and whoever it was, that's where they were. And I'm not saying, but I would guess that rather than Wanda being the villain, she's just done this all on her own. It's more like somebody's enabled her. It's her power, but has set her upon this path for their own purposes as well.
I think someone misinterpreted the end game after credit scene. She doesn't get the body out of Wakanda. Wanda, the body was recovered by the surviving Avengers and brought back to the U.S. Wanda gets it from I think they even called it Fury's vault,
which is probably uptown New York. Like the old base.
It could potentially be the old the old either Avengers base, or the old Shield base.
The fort
in New Jersey. Regardless, the Vision's body. I think this episode confirms indeed that post-credit scene is canon in some way.
And now it makes sense why that would have been on. Remember we were saying, like, why would that be on Endgame when this wasn't scheduled first? But now it makes more sense why it would be on Endgame is because this movie picks up at the same time.
But remember, Vision's not really an Endgame. So basically, while they were still filming Endgame, Paul Bettany's finished, right? And remember, he says when he kind of went in to say bye-bye to Kevin Feige and everything like that, like, bye-bye, it's been great, I'm dead now. And they're like, hey, actually, would you be interested? Are you quitting? Because we've got this plan. And that's when they kind of came in with the idea for WandaVision. So that would seem to me, I'm just guessing, it's hard to put the timeline together, that was while Endgame was still being filmed and Infinity War was getting its finishing touches, etc., that they kind of came in with that.
So you're talking 2017-18.
Yeah, before the big Disney Plus announcements and stuff like that happened. I mean, they must have had this all planned in advance before we ever knew about it, is my guess.
Damn, hard to think about that.
And then, going back to our whole witness thing, in addition to no one remembering who knew the witness remembering him, no one remembers the town existing, including the people from Eastview. Where are you guys from? We're from Eastview.
It's on the
they don't know Westville exists.
I'd wanted to know if there was a North View and a South View. And then I'd have been like, what do you think happened with it?
That's why I thought, I was like, shouldn't you know the other one exists?
Turn round. Can you not see that sign? That's what I wanted to say to them.
Well, she follows a highway exit sign for Westview. Clearly.
Yeah, so it's some sort of selective amnesia.
Yeah, they say that selective amnesia. And then, like, the idea is like, that reminds me of Westworld, where, like, the host just can't see certain things because they're not programmed to. Like, a character overlooks a door for an entire season because he just can't see it, literally. It's there, but he's not programmed to see it. That's what kind of magic this feels like. Where it's like, oh, yeah, well, I don't, that doesn't look like anything to me. Like, what are you talking about? There's no town in front of us. We're at the end of a street. Or, like, I've never seen that exit sign. And then they're trying to figure out if it's a distance thing or, like, what's causing it. Why Jimmy
they're not affected. Monica's just arrived and she can see it and, she doesn't understand and Jimmy's fine. So
fascinating that Jimmy can remember it, because no one else who knows the witness protection, they don't say how far away the other people who know him are, but none of them remember him. But Jimmy Woo remembers the guy he put in witness protection.
Not necessarily that he's under his caseload, under his jurisdiction.
So if he didn't know him personally,
he might not know this person.
Plus, he had to jump on a plane to get there, so he was quite some distance away. And if this is quite localized, you know what I mean, then because we don't know for certain, it's hard to read exactly what he's saying with that.
And it could have been it could have been an authorized. He could have set him up here for an authorized vacation. You know what I'm saying? And Westview was the authorized place to be away from, so he could interact with East Coast, whatever the hell he needed to do, or just, legitimately go do an East Coast vacation. There's lots of things that can explain a normal witness protection situation being there and Wu being in Oakland and fitting it in perfectly with what Monica says, which is like, so why aren't we affected? Is it because we're not close to the subject? But it's not necessarily the missing person. Wu and Monica aren't close and have had no real contact with Wanda.
That's true. Neither of them have met Wanda.
But the people of Westview obviously have. And Wanda obviously has defenses of her own. Plus, we still mostly, people should still honestly believe that there is a puppet master, that this is not all of Wanda's own free will.
I think it's still possible that it could be. I just don't think it is. That's my, but I don't think there's anything definitively telling us it can't be that. That could be the shocker for us, and she could be the villain of Doctor Strange 2 for all you know.
No,
I don't think that is the case, but
no, it is.
I hope it is.
I'm betting money on it. I just can't find anybody.
Strange would be fucked.
I can't think of any logical reason to use Mephisto, Agatha, Vision, Wanda kid story. In any way where it's just her, even when I'm like, okay, so she wills herself a family, that doesn't really make sense because it's the town in the beginning that is pushing the idea of kids for the children.
You guys don't have kids yet?
Yeah, exactly. So from the get-go,
seeds being planted in her head. Yeah,
exactly.
Wait, this is a real town. And we also know it's 3,000 people, where it's like, fuck, where are the other people? Like, we're only seeing this little sitcom.
Maybe they just,
are all the kids
go
gone?
on with their own lives. It's like, it's like the Truman Show. Everybody's just there to be part of their show. So when they're off camera, they're out of Wanda's thoughts. Possibly they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And they could be mindless drones, or they could be just carrying on with their normal bland lives that don't really mean anything or do anything. It's hard to say. I think we'll play that
regardless.
Halloween might be good for that, as you say, because they might go to different doors and see different people, and we might get an idea. Maybe.
It's just because she had no children running around, and she just took over a real place. She didn't, or all the children being kept inside. Because I do agree that there's still a third force just suggesting stuff to her at the very least. The covers of magazines and the commercials.
And I think whoever that is, the main villain of Doctor Strange 2, rather than Wanda being the villain of Doctor Strange.
Of course. Wanda is a victim. She's always been a victim. In the comics, she's a victim, and in the movies, she's a victim. She's got PTSD from multiple traumas. When we say she's the big bad, she's the
MacGuffin almost. I think she's the doomsday button. That somebody's trying to press.
And that's why I said there's a puppet master, because my theory from the get-go was that she wanted to do this, and it was one of two things. She either found someone who said, someone found her, or she found someone who said, I can teach you how to do this, i.e. Agatha working for Mephisto, or Mephisto himself, and she unwillingly makes a deal at the crossroads, deal with the devil, or whatever. Or B, she starts doing things, and it tips off magic users, including Mephisto and Agatha, who are like, we can use this to our advantage, and they take advantage of it. Either way,
I think, as I said earlier on, I think she's went to someone that she's found information about, that somebody that might, have odd powers and she could use to help her get Vision back, and they've said, we can do it, but this is how it'll be, and almost like, you can have him as long as you stay here, and because she knows they can't leave that place, she says that we can't leave, because she knows she won't be able to do that outside. And I do completely believe that it's her power, that she's the only one strong enough to be generating all that, but I believe she's been led into doing that. What I don't know is what's the end game for whoever's behind it. What would they be looking to do? Do you think?
Depends.
I have a new theory.
Okay.
It's a character I brought up before, because I think Marvel's, in a way they're still doing like post-credit teases kind of on the fly, it seems like sometimes. With for Doctor Strange, the end of the post-credit sequence, they tease his what's his face, Mordo something. Mm-hmm. They tease him being the next bad guy in Doctor Strange. So what if he's because the MCU is always different than the comics, combining characters, changing storylines. What if Mordo is a stand-in for Mephisto? He's been stealing powers from sorcerers. He's Ralph.
No, it doesn't fit with his mantra towards the end of Doctor Strange. What he was going to do was use his powers to stop people doing sorcery. So, by doing
he's stopping everyone.
He's doing it himself. Yeah,
he's stopping everyone. I think he's encouraging Wanda to do it because he wants her power, or like Mephisto uses her children's power. Maybe he wants to use her power or the kids or whatever to help use her to do a magician's house of M. No more magic. Because it would make that way he could still be the villain in Doctor Strange, and and Doctor Strange would be the Avenger you have show up in this episode.
And there's no guarantee about this, but I've heard some rumblings that Mordo won't be the straight up villain, but will have to actually work with Strange again in the sequel, even though they're very much opposed. So that would be something, the clash between those two would be something for even further down the line, you know.
Then the missing person.
Well,
I mean, the person who's put in that town by Jimmy Woo or the FBI might be one of the sorcerers that he's after, who's under Wizard's protection.
Yeah,
possibly, but
that's why she went there.
If they're gonna use, if they're gonna use Mordo just a little bit in Multiverse, where he's not necessarily the main bad guy, unless get it out, Kyle.
You're good.
He's going, if Mordo's going to do anything to get rid of sorcerers, it's going to be using the Last Days of Magic storyline and a third Doc Strange movie with the Empirical, and
maybe they'll build up to
and Mordo using them and accessing them through the multiverse.
Yeah.
So I think Mordo not necessarily heavily used as a good guy or bad guy, maybe a little as both, but I do think he will discover the Empirical, because that's the way you get no more, or too many sorcerers. That's how you get rid of them, is do the Last Days of Magic storyline, which I would
see. That would make more sense thematically. They're reluctantly forced to work together, but in the course of Multiverse of Madness, Mordo finds what he needs to progress his story forward and setting them up for a third one. That definitely makes more sense to me.
I can see that, would love it, and then I would be like Deadpool and touch myself at night. To kind of stretch that back to WandaVision, I think that would make me press F to doubt on it's Mordo theory of Nick's, but you never know. You never know.
It's not one I would put my money on.
The only reason I thought of that theory is because I hope they're not just throwing him aside. But it makes sense if he wouldn't be the full villain until Chapter 3 of the Doctor Strange trilogy. I do think the most likely Avenger we are.
Last Days of Magic.
I do think, though, the Avenger we're most likely to see is Doctor Strange. Because I think that's who they're going to call.
He's in it.
Because eventually Sword's going to have to call someone. He's in WandaVision?
He's in it. Yeah, we know that.
I didn't know that.
Nick, you work for the LRM.
I know. I don't read the article.
Well, I would be so shocked if he's not in it at this point. There's been a lot of rumours, and apparently, he was seen at the point they were filming it, which was, remember, pre-pandemic at this point. So as far as we know, the idea is Doctor Strange will be in it, but it'll be like, it could be as an after post-credit tease for all we know, or it could be that he comes in and helps Wanda stop whatever's happening and pushes the story towards Doctor Strange 2 instead. Do you know what I mean? But I think we'll definitely see Cumberbatch.
Anyways, Nick.
Yeah. So, okay, back to where we were within the show. They're investigating it. Monica is doing the stupid alien thing where she's getting too close to shit, like in the movie Aliens or Prometheus, and she gets sucked in. After sending in her drone, which they watch just disappear, like there's nothing there, but it does make on the screen she's watching when it goes in, it like gives off that TV static / radiation that causes. I was so excited to learn that from a Easter egg video that the Big Bang radiation is what causes static on a TV, like the lack of signal that is that you're watching the Big Bang.
You didn't know that? No.
It's the same white noise on your radio too.
I didn't know it was that.
It's
I was
just
just
that
like, that must be
background
absolute-
radiation that exists all over the universe, and you can't do anything about
You're
it. And
literally
if
listening.
it was in any way harmful, nothing would have evolved in
you're-
the first
you're-
place in the universe. Anyway,
You're
so-
literally listening to the electronic translation of the sound of the Big Bang, basically.
Yeah,
I'm just
but it's
gonna
basically
start
also a
listening
part
to
of
it.
ourselves and everything. So
Yeah.
as Darcy said, at the levels it's at, it's not really enough to be harmful yet. But of course, any radiation amplified, and I wonder whether the amplification of the CBMR could be part of the end game for whoever is the puppet master, because possibly that is like the raw stuff of magic and the powers and everything like that, and Wanda's
the Infinity
amplifying that
Stones.
and concentrating that in one place. Maybe having access to all that power allows somebody else, who is seen to do their own thing within that environment, at the same time, while Wanda's completely oblivious, living her life and just generating this
Unleashes her chaos magic, her hex magic.
Well, I mean, Wanda's magic, her powers are based on the Big Bang Theory, based on what Wong says about at the moment of the Big Bang Theory is when all the stones were created. Yeah. And one of the stones gave her magic, so she's basically been given magic from that radiation.
And it also starts to explain things like
awakened.
Fantastic Four later on, and that cosmic radiation can do strange things because it's it's powers. It's basically powers, isn't it?
Right, and now people should start seeing how we potentially get mutants out of the MCU itself through this cosmic radiation.
It could be that, which then
real
causes that
possibility.
effect.
I will say we have seen footage in the trailers, full-size helicopters outside of a very, very red and angry looking television
it's
bubble.
like second trailer. Yeah. Because it doesn't look as violent, in the episode we're watching as. And what's also awesome, so Darcy shows up and stuff. They're sending a shit ton of drones through there, and they're all making that boom noise. So those are the booms. Like, obviously, we only know from this episode, we learned 2 people from the outside world have gone in. Monica unintentionally, and then the Beekeeper, who is not a beekeeper. He's a guy in like a radiation suit.
Yeah, this is the thing. Why? I just think it's strange that both times we see him go in and come out, they make sure to cover his face. Does anybody else think that there's a reason for that? Because if we saw his face, the actor underneath would be like, that's, what's his name? Actor-wise, but maybe a new character.
They've already lit up the actor. He's a guy that's been a crew member before.
Right. So it is just some random actor.
He's nobody special.
Okay.
He is Agent Franklin, and people are like Reed Richards' kid, and I'm like, that only works if Kyle's theory of the Fantastic Four happens, where it's like 60s or whatever.
My that was the thing that went straight into my head when it said Franklin. I thought, Fantastic Four. And then when they didn't show his face, I started to wonder, but it doesn't really add up.
And his face says
the
guy's much older.
There's not a reason for that. No. It's just because he was wearing that suit.
And
it's just
some people are pretty sure he's the ice cream man at the beginning of episode 3.
I do want to know where he is, though. Because what happened after she said no to him? Where did he go? He didn't get
exactly.
Shot. But what did?
But it's a different actor or some shit like that. They said.
Oh, okay. Because someone pointed that out online. Like, he could be the ice cream guy right here in the next episode after he's told no. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we don't know what the fuck happened to him. Like we didn't even know what fully. We knew where she ended up, but we didn't know what fully happened to Monica until this episode.
No.
We're going through it. Darcy discovers the rays. They realize they're able to start watching it on TV. They have their board of questions like, why hexagons? Of course, because
yeah.
Picture. I know we only discuss it every time unless you have a new theory, but like, of course, even the picture of the town is a hexagon.
Right. No, I was just gonna say Darcy's introduction. Absolutely like it. Love it. I love that the character is getting some development, because I actually liked her in Thor. Somebody made a comment about that again, because of how volatile contemporary politics are. Somebody made a comment about her stating Doctor, whatever her last name is, I can't remember.
Lewis? No.
Lewis.
Yeah, Lewis.
Dr. Lewis.
Darcy Lewis, Dr. Lewis. And I was like, no, you guys, that whole doctor thing was 2020. This was filmed before Biden won the election, and calm down, relax.
And also it's the natural progression for her. She was an undergrad character.
Right.
Why she's useful.
And that's all they were establishing, people. Relax. She's
got her degree. She's now a doctor. She's not an undergrad anymore.
Yeah. Otherwise they wouldn't have sent her in.
This wasn't because at no other time does she demand anybody call her doctor. It was an establishing line of dialogue. Relax, people.
More of a Doctor Strange thing to do is demand that someone call you doctor. It's Doctor Strange.
Because again, like I said, the contemporary politics is so volatile, and people are right. In general, scientists don't use the term doctor with each other or from the outside unless it's a formal introductory type thing. Only your medical doctors, your dentists, your vets, your MDs, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Those types. So I just thought it was so funny that contemporary politics so volatile that something that happened in the late part of the 2020 election, people projected viewing it in 2021 when it was recorded in 2019.
Yeah,
it's insane. But yeah, I like what they're more, please. I like Kat Dennings. My favorite thing with Kat Dennings is with Robert Downey Jr. actually, that Charlie Bartlett movie. Fucking love it. And then her stuff in Thor. So yeah, I'm down with more Darcy.
Never liked her character before, but from the first line in this episode, I loved her. And people are jokingly pitching online an X-Files style show about Jimmy Woo and Dr. Lewis. That's Scully and Mulder of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like, I'd watch the hell out of that. Two C-list characters that I love. Give it to me. So they learn the TV thing. They're watching on TV. The boss is like, what the fuck is this? Like, is this pre-recorded? Is it real? And then, of course, Darcy and Woo actually make comments about getting into the show and stuff. And you can, see them get sucked in where he's like, oh, they're going to have a baby. But they make the call that we've seen before. And people in their Easter egg videos are like, and it was Woo the whole time. And I'm like, and you could hear that in the first time they did it in episode 2.
Yeah,
that was Randall Park's voice.
Yeah, of course.
But I guess if you're not super into Marvel and I remember he was in a Marvel movie, then you wouldn't be like, hey, it's Randall Park. But because that actually works. But the part they see even less of it than we get to see in multiple points in multiple episodes where someone is censoring it. And I'm assuming that's Wanda, because she's the one.
Yes.
But the thing is, she doesn't know people are watching it outside.
No, she doesn't. But when something's outside of what she wants for her perfect reality, she just believes it's up to her to erase what it was and reset it. So she just keeps resetting every time something goes wrong. But it was a little bit different the last time when Monica goes out, because they really see it just almost cuts to the end of the episode, whereas all the other times they kind of carry on. And you've seen probably the clip, have you, from one of the episodes coming up where what's her name? Agatha, whoever she is, right?
Yeah.
Actually says at some point, oh, will we just take it from the top? You know, have you seen that bit in one of the trailers for the upcoming one? One of the legal trailers, I shall just point out.
Nothing leaked.
And, you know, it's like right, so, should I just go back to the start and we carry on as normal, which is kind of strange, but, that makes you think that it's really, from the other people, it's like the actors, because it's her reality, it's her reality, it's shaped in whatever way she wants. She's the director, and everybody else is just the cast and crew supposed to make it work the way she wants it to.
And that's interesting, too, is they're going through all the pictures of the people they've seen, and they're like, oh, this person's real name was cast as Mr. Hart, and, like, what's-his-face was cast as the character I call Luigi. And they all have driver's license except for they have driver's license for everyone they put up so far, except for
Agnes.
And they
don't have a picture up for Dottie.
No, but there's some speculation on that, because it looks like the only person they have a picture of up from episode 2 when they're building the board is the chubby neighbor who's part of the neighborhood association. Like, everyone else is in episode 1. Herb is in episode 1. Like, everyone else has seen before. Like, that's one theory. I still see Dottie stuff going on.
Right. One of the things that they did with the naming of the people is kind of destroy some of the theories because Dottie's husband's name within WandaVision, the show, is the husband's name of Arcana, who's part of the Squadron Supreme. However, now some people are wondering if Dottie is Clea, who has connections to the Dark Dimension, Dormammu, Strange, and Doctor Doom as well.
Damn.
So
obviously
Clea,
some of the stuff's thrown at us for no reason.
Yeah, Clea is potential, especially if that theory that once Wanda gets set up, other magic users go to figure what the hell's going on, and that even if it's not Wanda that tips them off, the puppet master, the alleged puppet master, something tips them off, and that brings additional magic users. Is a theory on why Arcana and or Clea could be in this. The interesting thing with Clea, like I said, to direct Doctor Strange and Dormammu connections.
Interesting. I need to look up that character. I don't know. And other people. Okay, going back to I don't buy this at all. But going back to the Beekeeper. Well, just talk about that in general. Everything that goes in is indeed. They even use the film reference for it, the term you'd use in film. Everything that goes in is changed to fit the production design of the world. So yeah, the Beekeeper, he goes in a radiation chute. He comes out in a beekeeper costume with bees around him, and his rope has turned into a jump rope. Right. Even they pull out at the other side.
With
this episode had a lot of Stranger Things vibes to me too. Yeah. And then the helicopter shows up. I mean, the drone shows up as a helicopter. But Wu also has a line where they're like, they're either changing them for the production design, and maybe it's Darcy who says, or to make them less harmful.
Make it less harmful.
Or like less dangerous or whatever.
The color change is interesting of that helicopter when you think about it. Now that we know that it was a different color on the outside. Red and yellow is the color of what?
Captain Marvel.
Cam.
Oh.
Red and yellow.
Red and yellow. What could be
Eastern
Iron Man?
Bloc.
Oh, you're talking about Soviet.
And so Soviet
and there have been Soviet
communist
before.
Flags, red and yellow, and she's from Eastern Bloc. Again, Eastern Bloc got the television late. It's a running gag and jokes about Central Europe.
That's a fact. I mean, I just assumed, that was known that Wanda's living through her memories, so what she remembers of her youth being good when her mum and dad were still alive and there was her and Pietro is probably sitting watching these old American sitcoms, because they would get them years and years later. Even in Britain, we used to get stuff years later than America. So when I was growing up, there was, the Munsters black and white was on TV when I was growing up. Do you know what I mean? In the UK, because they would just put reruns on and stuff like that. So yeah, even more so in Eastern Bloc. Kyle's absolutely right. They really didn't have a lot of
very Russian
programming, but they wanted stuff that was old. They would only let them get the stuff that was really, really old and had no relevance to what was going on right now for obvious reasons. Didn't want everybody seeing what it was like in America, because they'd be like, hey, wait a minute, what have they got all that stuff for?
Well, they were probably at the dinner table watching it when the Stark bomb hit. I wouldn't be, not that it matters, but I can picture that going down too. Where it's like they're in the middle of watching one of these old shows when the floor fell out from under.
I haven't heard you discuss this, but you've heard the theory, I'm sure, and discussed it, that the people in the adverts are her parents, or what she remembers of her parents being like.
Which makes sense. That's a good solid theory.
I do think that I'll get to it. Remind me to bring up Hydra a little bit later.
God,
I do definitely think Hydra's back. No, I have some proof for it now. Oh, where are I'll say it now.
Just get on with it now. Just go for it.
Go on, Nick. Get on with it.
Okay. So one of the newspaper. So the newspaper that Dottie's husband's reading.
Hydrant, and it held, so it might say Hydra. It
says town is getting 2 new hydrants, and you only see Hydra. And 2 would refer to the twins, so I think it refers to both. But you have the Hydra commercials that continue past the ones that deal with her life, like Hydra Soak. And then there are in first of all, chop off one heads, 2 more take its place. Hydra's coming back eventually. And also the trailer for Falcon.
All of this is part of Wanda's past as well. So her past, her reality is creating all this. So her past is heavily involved with Hydra. And the 2 things, well, she was a twin herself and they worked for Hydra and were created by Hydra. So it could all just be little bits of her past kind of coming in rather than being a reference to
comment.
I'm not saying
there. Well, the other reason
have I said that Hydra wouldn't come back, because I believe 100% for sure, especially I think the Thunderbolts thing is going to be a Thunderbolts versus Hydra thing. If and when it happens, it should be, but it's not related. Hydra themselves have nothing to do with what's going on with Wanda currently, only what they did to her up until she and Pietro left the Hydra facility.
Yeah. We may be wrong, but I agree with Kyle on this one.
Yeah.
Well, the main evidence I had wasn't even from this show.
Okay.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier trailer has guys there. The guys that are they're from the quick tease. They're not in the trailer. Mm-hmm. The guys in like the flying suits that are chasing Falcon are wearing almost identical costumes to the comics, those cheesy like green and yellow Hydra costumes.
Right.
That like look like they're out of Venture Brothers or something, but
the
from the Marvel
bad
comic.
guy, or the organization of the bad guys in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, seems to be an organization called Flag Smashers, which is like a world organization, which they're trying to kind of, I think, globalize everything under one, or stop that happening. I can't remember which one of their goals is, but it's basically, it's a political kind of type movement.
Either way,
I think we'll see it more in stuff like that, and maybe Armor Wars and stuff.
But like I was telling everyone with all their AIM theories and stuff, like this is a very magic specific. I know we just watched them figure out with technology how to watch it, but it's still connected to cosmic rays and shit like that. This is not it's
not technology.
Yeah, this is not technology. The only potential here is, and we'll talk more about Dead Vision in a bit, and that Grim Reaper helmet is that storyline where they attempted to use the Grim Reaper's technology and abilities to put Vision into a recently deceased Wonder Man. But while Wonder Man art has been seen in interviews and stuff online, we haven't gotten any real introduction to the character yet. And the death of Wonder Man happening within the next 5 episodes in any type of meaningful way, and to do that storyline, I don't necessarily think so yet. This is a very magical based show.
Unless Wonder Man is the guy
based.
is the one that's in the witness protection program. Ooh.
It could be.
How about that?
Be,
I don't know. We don't know.
It wouldn't have any weight to it, and why would Marvel waste one of their characters like that? You know.
I agree.
Maybe if
I
they're
did
not
see that
intending
picture.
to use him going forward and just using him as a now dead character, who knows? But I think the early theory on him was that Vision was really Wonder Man. But given that, and I'd say we as well just talk about it since it got brought up, the Vision dead with a hole in his head kind of thing. That doesn't seem to indicate that, does it? It was quite a creepy little scene, that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a jump scare. Like, Marvel
yeah,
did a legitimate jump scare. And I was like, what the fuck?
Look at it, and, she has to focus for a minute before, she can look at it so she can see it back the way she needs it to be again, because it just brings back too many memories. And, of course, that happening just after, Monica's
so much magic.
Rambo's got his ass kicked. I'll just say him just because of that. She's at her most vulnerable state at that point. So it's like, because she's so all over it, she's not keeping the illusion going. For that minute for herself.
Throw her out and rebuild the house.
Absolutely is lying to herself here, and knows she's lying to herself.
That scene, when she throws Monica out, and we finally get to see the what was that?
Scarier than last time, because we actually get to see more of their discussion.
You get to see more of their discussion. She brings
up Ultron again. Like, or no, Wanda brings up Ultron. She actually named Ultron. Like, how did you know about Ultron?
How did you know about Ultron? Yeah.
You're a stranger.
And then Jimmy and Darcy are watching, and they're like, they've never mentioned anything in the real world before, have they?
Yeah. When she knocks her out, I think it's obvious that Wanda drops, like Cam said, she drops the illusion for a moment. The illusion is gone, not necessarily the force field or the hex, the curse that's been placed, because we got to remember there's a difference here. She was imbued with a lot of energy-based powers by the Mind Stone. She could potentially, now that we're talking about the background radiation and we're talking about mutants and stuff, that her DNA was mutated. However, the idea in the comics was that her original mutant energy manipulation abilities were augmented when she learned how to actually tap into magic, like Strange does. And we haven't seen her cast spells like Strange yet, but we got to remember.
But one would presume if Wanda was to learn what Strange knows, she would be vastly more powerful than Strange is at doing the same thing.
And these could
Strange
be
is more, he's learned it. He's a learner.
Yes.
He teaches himself techniques and learns quickly. But
these are raw.
Power about him, it's his spirit and his morality that's the strong point about him. That's why the Ancient One wanted him. It's not raw power, but WandaVision's raw, untapped potential.
Yeah, and I think maybe she already is beginning to tap into magic itself.
Yeah. So what if her
it's just raw magic?
These magic users, her just giving her enough to not control it, but just to do what they want. And of course, it takes Strange to train her. In the next movie, I almost imagine the two of them flying about the multiverse as you know, basically Wanda.
Oh, he's gonna go
Doctor
fight her, man.
You know, and he's teaching her to try and control stuff and all that, you know, as she's because I think it'll be Strange that brings her out of or helps get her out of whatever the end of WandaVision is.
I want a premonition and combination. I want a combination of what Nick theorized with something that I would like to see. I think would be cool, which is Nick's reverse House of M, where, you know, instead of creating a perfect universe filled with mutants and then saying no more mutants, she creates the mutants and they stick around. What if it was something like that, but House of M, here she breaks. We get the chaos magic unleashed. Multiverse begins to shatter. Mephisto, Mephisto, whatever you guys want to call him, gets what he wants out of it. Mordo, Dormammu, anybody taking advantage of Wanda. Wanda, Strange have their big fight or whatever. But when it all comes down to it, and this fits with the comic book line from where she has the kids and loses them to where she remembers the kids and creates the House of M to where she says no more mutants. What if those events basically happen, and that's how we get our X-Men is when she creates
what if the House of M
M
moment isn't actually till the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse?
That's what I'm saying. The House of M.
Yeah.
I think it's a long storyline. Yeah, that goes through all the movies we see.
Right,
her
and then we get
if she's gonna be in Spider-Man,
because that would, by the time we get to that point, you know, it would make then sense for like a couple of years later. Here's some X-Men stuff starting to appear. Do you know what I mean? And with some rumors that they're developing some maybe solo X-Men projects.
You spend you spend three films of X-Men in her House of Men X-Men universe. Strange, you know, thinks he's got the pockets all patched up and stuff. Maybe new sanctums are up. Whatever have you. And at the end of the third movie, which I really think should be the X-Men should have to face off against Onslaught, that psionic combination of Charles and Magneto. But that battle shatters it again, that doorway, and those mutants pour into the Prime MCU or some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely think they need to come from a different
some really
reality.
Long storytelling like that.
So, just before we get to our final theories about things or Easter eggs, of course, that conversation with Monica, we see more of it. It's scarier. Wanda uses her powers, and for the first time, and like that's the first time we've actually seen her use her red hand powers. Like her hands are glowing red for the first time since Endgame. And it's looking very much like Age of Ultron, where she's kind of like looking at her hands and stuff. And I think that more than anything snaps her even out of it. She's like, even though she's trying to stay within it by editing it, because she's looking at her hands, and then Vision comes in, and it's the jump scare. My friend Andrew, I'm going to name drop again. He actually he said that's the saddest thing he's ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He says he doesn't cry at anything, even real life stuff. But he's like, I'm surprised you weren't crying, Nick. And I'm like, I see it as more of a jump scare than a sad moment. The sad moment for me comes after that, where he's she's like, I have everything under control or whatever. No, before that, he's like, oh, we can go anywhere we want, Wanda.
Yeah,
and she's like, no, we can't. And you can just see the tear. Like, she's not crying, but she's such a good actress. You can just see in her eyes. She is like so sad about that. And then,
it's
of course, she kind of fixes,
us, you know.
Yeah, she throws it back into the TV show mode, basically. He still seems a little suspicious, I think. But then as soon as she asks, what shall we watch tonight, honey? It just it's such a creepy ending. Like, even
I wonder what
after
they watch
everything else
on
we've
TV.
seen. Right? Like, watching other TV shows from that time period.
Maybe, yeah.
Watching the
Maybe
Marvel.
just whatever she can remember from her memory, I guess.
Yeah, that's the episode. Man, other things you
Yeah,
want to predict?
I got a couple. One, I'm starting to think that the reason Derrickson was let go wasn't because he wanted to go too scary. I'm starting to think he didn't want to go scary enough after that Vision jump scare. Dottie.
Really? But he left to do another horror movie with Ethan Hawke.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
It just went away that he didn't want, but, you know, how scary
Something.
can you really make a Doctor Strange movie that, you know, a 6-year-old, you know, my nephew's 6, and when they announced there's a Doctor Strange movie coming out, he's going to want to go to the pictures and see that, you know.
Same with WandaVision with my kid. And
I don't
Falcon
think
Winter
he'll get
Soldier,
any scarier than I mean, Sam Raimi already directed the scariest PG-13 moment in a superhero movie.
That's what I'm saying.
In Spider-Man 2.
Anyways,
so yeah.
Dottie, like I said, I brought up the Arcana kind of falls apart once we find out it's a coincidence that the crew member has the same name as the comic book character, which is the name that they use for the actor within the show. I like that they've been doing that, kind of giving their crew members shout outs, like in paint brands or actor names or crew members on the fake WandaVision show.
Yeah, on that credit, we're watching a show made by characters within a show who are making the show.
Yeah.
Doing that.
The Agnes and Dottie's pictures not being up there again. A lot of people
Agnes
wanted to point out,
but no driver's
or
license.
she has no ID. Agnes, I think it is very clear. Agatha Harkness. There's no other way. Going back to that one trailer where she's like, "Or am I dead? Why? Because you are," and then laughs in the Halloween episode or whatever. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. WandaVision Endgame after credits scene, like I said, I think it's pretty much canon, and she either, like I said, she's made a deal and thinks she's in control, but like any genie wish or monkey paw wish or deal with the devil, and you got to have a lawyer
Renounce
look
your
over
wish.
the fine
Renounce
print.
your wish.
Exactly. And they're going to get out of it what they want, or they've manipulated her into doing things free will, but they're still going to get something out of it. Westview is obviously real. We know that. We know that Sword did not set up the barrier around it. They're cordon. It's been cordoned off, so nobody else can access
like
it.
Thor. It makes me think of Thor, where they're all around the.
I thought it was interesting that Wu says it doesn't want me to. Is Wu magic sensitive? That's kind of weird. But
what he asks Monica
feeling
if she feels it as well, but she doesn't answer
She
him.
doesn't answer.
Yes or no.
And unlike
she's a bit of a, as she says, she goes straight up and touches it. But you know, this is somebody who flies into space. She's quite used to jumping straight into it. Monica,
Right.
She's clearly quite reckless. You know,
But there's
Wu's
also-
just an FBI agent in an
yeah,
Avengers.
he's a bit more.
But there's also the fact that Monica appears to be pulled in while Agent Franklin casually
he just
walks
crawls
in.
in. Yeah.
Or casually
Wu
crawls
was right. Wu was right with his theory. He's like, how do you know it doesn't extend? And the stupid
And
general is always like, how do you
Wu-
know it
How do you know
doesn't?
it doesn't?
off. So maybe
Well, no, they don't.
maybe Wu being so interested in magic, maybe he gets to tap into some sorcery, which would be
That
kind
was
of cool.
that's another thing I saw. They said maybe it's not an accident. Besides the reference to Ant-Man and the Wasp, that he does a magic trick as soon as she gets there. Maybe there is some magic going on.
Other than that, I love that how meta it was. I love the fact that we got to spend so much time outside, and also interesting point that we can tell only so far, barrier change in, barrier does not change out.
But it could give you powers if you're thrown out by Wanda.
But it could potentially give you powers if you're thrown out by Wanda, as we see.
That is an interesting point.
What's her name?
Her clothes will go back to normal.
Covered in Wanda's red energy, and it dissipates the same way the blue energy dissipated off of Captain Marvel. But in her movie, we also see it penetrate her and go through her. We didn't necessarily see that as much with this one, but who knows? It's cosmic radiation and Wanda's power.
What's Monica's
plus magic.
powers in the comics?
Oh, I saw
lot
it in
of
the
different
video.
things.
She can phase through stuff. She can change her appearance, like Clayface or something.
Right.
She can fly, super strength.
Shoot photon beam.
Yep.
She's got a lot of
She can
abilities.
mess with electrical fields. And she's confirmed, the actress at least, for Captain Marvel 2 with the actor who plays Miss Marvel. So I assume she got powers here and she'll have powers in Captain Marvel 2.
I
Not
always
just
assumed
like
that,
a sword friend. Because, of course, she existed before Carol Danvers in the comics and was Captain Marvel for a while. And then they changed her name to Photon later when Captain Marvel came along.
Interesting. I think I pretty much agree with all your theories, Kyle. There's nothing I would disagree with. That's the way I'm leaning. We're all going at the moment. Wanda's going there, looking maybe for help, or because there was people there, or they've came because she's there. There's magic users kind of that have got their own goals at mind, but it is Wanda that's generating what's going on, and we don't know what their goal is, but I'm sure we'll find that out at some point further down the line.
With the Eye of Agamotto gone from the MCU Prime, there is no longer a Infinity Stone source other than Wanda Maximoff, who was imbued with it.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, she's able to also access magic.
And weirdly enough, the only other person that would still have some of it potentially in them is Vision, because the Mind Stone was part of him and his makeup. And although it's gone, whatever that made part of him is still left in his programming as well. So that's potentially two sources of power which came from the Infinity Stone.
I was gonna say without the Mind Stone, like even if he's fully reanimated, right? Let's say it's a living synthezoid. He's still got the damage because he no longer has the Mind Stone, right? Does that mean basically she was having a three-way with Ultron and Jarvis, not really just a one-on-one with Vision? Because wouldn't they be the only two left inside of him without her input?
Yeah. Ew. And Stark, a little bit of Stark in there, because he made Ultron. No, but actually, I forgot one thing to bring up that someone mentioned. No, shit, did I forget what it was already? Again?
Probably.
Oh, Vision never really, Vision flies fast, but we've never seen super speed for Vision.
Yeah, somebody brought that up.
Like some people are thinking Vision's kind of part her brother and part Vision, where she imbued him with speed because of her brother. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, of course, Vision could do this all along. We just haven't seen it. But that's another theory floating around. I don't know how much. I guess it makes sense, but it makes their relationship even more troubling that he's part her brother also, and at least power set.
Yeah, everything about her situation is troubling.
So yeah, we crossed out a lot of theories. We still have a lot of theories, and there'll be a new episode, maybe 2, I guess, this Friday. Do we want to talk about that real quick before we sign off?
Well, I suppose we should just say that there's some spoilers have kicked about online, which it's just out there.
Don't
anyone
say
will
what the spoilers are.
We won't say what it is because we're not about that. That's something as specific as that. So
don't go looking for it unless you want it spoiled.
Yeah, put it this way. Yeah, there's stuff out there. If you know where to go and look for it, you will be able to find it. No problem at all if that's what you want to do.
And
but obviously, for some
are going to be
people,
on message
just
boards
don't-
posting stuff.
Yeah, don't put it on stuff where anybody can access it really quickly. That's your own personal choice. For research purposes, I've had a look, but Nick, you haven't seen it, have you? Or anything?
Nah, I'm avoiding it.
Yeah, so
I've
you're not
seen one
spoilers.
part of it, I think.
It's
still.
something that we here at LRM have kind of already known about and theorized anyway. So
Yeah.
not shocking to us, but might be shocking to people out there that aren't in the industry. So,
Correct. But until it comes up, we're not going to kind of really talk about it because we're all
But it
about
might cause
talk
Disney-
about what's happened this week and then speculating what happened next rather than what's the spoilers. We'll talk about this actor's supposed to be in this and things like that. But you have to draw the line somewhere.
yeah.
So the theory is that because some content from episode 6 has released online, that Disney might drop 5 and 6 together this week, but that's just unconfirmed, just a rumour that's going about that some people have said they think that might.
I'm in
It's-
favor just because I'm hungry for more.
I will-
Wanna
Yeah,
stop
I mean,
after a half hour.
I would
I
see
will
that as an
warn
absolute win.
people. I will warn people. I've already seen some stuff where it's easily accidentally stumbled upon. So I hope Disney for people to be able to continue to live their lives on the internet as they do without being spoiled royally. I hope Disney releases 5 and 6 together.
Well, what happens
Yeah.
if there's just the next week there's something else and something else? I mean, it happened to Game of Thrones every year.
Yeah.
Every
That's true.
single year, and somebody in a foreign country would accidentally leak an episode early. Accidentally, my ass. It's just people going, people like this. I'm going to put it online. Do you know what I mean? Thinking that I live in Bulgaria, no one's going to care what I think. Yeah, okay, you're sacked. You lost your job. I genuinely think there's somebody somewhere, wherever this leak came from, that's going to lose their job out of this. Absolutely.
Oh,
Whether Disney decide to kind of release 2 at 1 or not, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I see it as an absolute win if we get 2, just because I'm eager for it. But of course, that just means we've got even longer to wait till Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
of course, if we don't, you can rely on LRM Online not to print that stuff. So we're a safe place.
we're
to
not
come.
going to print that. No.
Yeah, we're a safe place to come until episode 6 comes out, so you won't have any of it spoiled. So only go to our website and our Twitter feed on Facebook. I mean, on the internet for the next 2 weeks or whatever. Right, guys?
Well, even then, I'd just say you couldn't stop a reader coming on and then saying,
That's true.
reply to a
Don't look at the
message and
comments.
posting some. So you can't even control stuff like that
Oh,
yourself.
we won't.
We won't publish it. That's for sure. No chance.
Cool. We all good? We got
Done.
it out of our system.
It was a
That
great
episode felt like it was
episode.
5 minutes, by the way. Yeah. It felt so
that
short because it
episode
covered
felt
so much.
Short.
And it wasn't like sitcom pacing. It was just like,
Yeah.
here's 20 minutes
I
of a
was
Marvel
mad
movie. It feels
when
like
it
5.
Because I thought I got gypped. I was like, was that like a 15-minute episode?
And
You
then
sons
you
of
look at
bitches?
the runtime, and you're like, nope.
There's no. Oh, you got it.
Do you know what's different this week? Usually I'll put it on because it comes out Friday morning for me, and I'm working, so I'll maybe put it on at the background, and then I have to pause it 'cause someone phones me for work stuff, or I have some emails to send, blah 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 blah, some writing to do, but I'll just kind of pause it, watch it. This week I kind of abandoned that after about 10 minutes and thought, I'm not picking this up. I need to have a proper half an hour. And I just didn't watch it till my lunchtime. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to sit and give it the full half an hour and watch it, because I kept going back and going, wait a minute, I've missed something here. Because you had to pay so much attention to it because there was so much going on.
Yep,
Thumbs up.
indeed.
Yeah,
Nick, let's plug shit.
Yeah, let's close out. I'm Nick from I'm at Geeky Nick Doll on Twitter, and I do this podcast every Monday with Kyle, and then Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, every Friday. Of course, we have many other podcasts and articles. I'll let you guys sell the website itself. Cam, where can they find you, and what's
They can
going
find
on in
me
LRM right now?
at LRM_Cam. You can find me on Twitter. Obviously, LRMonline.com is where you'll find us on a daily basis writing stories, which is obviously our main thing. And then, podcast-wise, I'll let Kyle pick it up, but I'm also on the Cantina on a weekly basis with Kyle as well. But I'll let you plug the other side of things.
Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to every single podcast app you use, and we're also on YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Great shows like the Cantina Reviews, where we're going through our old episodes of reviewing the original 11 Star Wars live action movies that came out leading up to episode 9. So that's coming out on a weekly basis. Anime reviews, LRMornings every Monday through Friday. Lots of great content. Like, share, subscribe, do it now. And I'm at ThatKyleMalone on Twitter, at that one Kyle Malone on Instagram. That's a number 1, not the spell that way.
And with that, Excelsior.
Enough said.
Yay, you remembered.
this time, I wrote it down.
I was wagering.
See you later, Spidey fans.
There you go.
Yeah.